Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another Theme Park Obsession video. My name is Dylan and thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. As you can see, I'm back in the Theme Park Obsession office because today I wanted to update a lot of you on the Stardust Racers incident that happened at Epic Universe a few days ago at the time of making this video. And yeah, some people have no idea what's going on. So yeah, I figure why not update everyone on everything that we know so far about the incident and the status of the two roller coasters at Epic Universe, and a few other tidbits that we're learning as I'm making this video right now. So without further ado, how about you and I dive right in? Now, everything is still ongoing. The investigation is still moving forward. At the time of making this video, it has not concluded just yet, and Stardust Racers is not open. Both roller coasters remain closed. And remember, Stardust Racers consists of two separate roller coasters. I'm going to try my best to update all of you here on YouTube as much as possible, but if you really want up-to-date information, you should definitely follow me on X. That link will be down below in the description. So yeah, what the heck happened? Well, at Epic Universe on September 17th, a 32-year-old man was unresponsive upon re-entering the Stardust Racers station and then later passed at a nearby hospital. He was pronounced passed at that hospital later that evening. And for those that are not sure what Stardust Racers is a dueling launch coaster at Epic Universe designed and built by Mack Rides. It's a German roller coaster company. Now, going back to the incident, again, Kevin Zavala did come back to the station at Stardust Racers unresponsive. They did perform CPR in the station and then later at the hospital pronounced his passing. Now, after the autopsy report, they revealed that he had passed due to blunt force trauma. And another thing that was revealed in the first few days of the incident was that Kevin also had a pre-existing spinal injury and was wheelchair bound. And after the autopsy report, they came to the conclusion that this was an accident. That weekend, we got more information from Universal Orlando's president, Karen Irwin, and she sent out a letter to all the team members stating that Stardust Racers operated as intended. And she also made it clear that all of the ride equipment stayed intact for the entire duration of the experience. So when the train was dispatched from the station, throughout its layout, and its re-entry into the load and unload. In addition to Universal's own findings, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services looked over the attraction, and their findings also align with those of Universal. And the only one that I'm waiting on a statement from is Mack Rides. I'm sure we'll hear from them very, very soon. It is their product at the end of the day, and I'm sure they're working very, very closely with Universal and the teams that are trying to figure out what exactly happened to Kevin Zavala, who is the victim of all this. And in the past few days, we've also learned that the family is working with famous civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. And now we get to the press conference. That happened just a couple days ago at the time of making this video, where Benjamin Crump, the family, and a few other attorneys just kind of discussed everything and answered a few questions. One person asked the question, which I was hoping that someone asked, how many times did he ride Stardust Racers that day? There was a lot of rumors going around online that he had ridden Stardust Racers before the incident, that he had gone on it like 5 or 6 times. That was one big one that was circulating online. Well, those rumors ended up being false. That was his first time on Stardust Racers for the day. Now, it was confirmed by Benjamin Crump that he had gone on other rides at Epic Universe, and he was a theme park enthusiast. But my question would be, well, what other rides did he ride that day? We also learned that he was taking medication, but the medication that he was taking was allegedly none that would prevent him from going on Stardust Racers. They haven't released any more information than that, but Ben just said during the press conference that he wasn't on anything that would prevent him from riding Stardust Racers. And Ben also said that his pre-existing condition was not the cause of his passing, which I find very interesting because Stardust Racers is, again, a high-thrill coaster, and in the safety requirements, for the ride, and this is pretty much for all roller coasters, Universal doesn't recommend those with spinal injuries or heart conditions or back or neck conditions ride any of these rides because there is an inherent risk. Again, the autopsy report revealed that he had passed due to blunt force trauma, but we also know that you can get blunt force trauma through G-force, so I am really curious to see how all of this plays out and what caused the blunt force trauma, because if the ride was operating as intended, and Universal has confirmed with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services that nothing was wrong with the ride vehicle, well, then yeah, where was he getting the blunt force trauma from? So in the coming days, I'm going to be really keeping an eye on that, because that's the multi-million-dollar question. And in this entire process, the family is asking for full transparency, which I totally agree with. I think we all want full transparency, because we all need to know what exactly happened. And the reason why I'm kind of on top of this story is because it's very interesting. Again, it's very sad that someone has lost their life. And like I was saying earlier, these things are very rare. Thankfully, these things are very, very rare. And it's horrible when it happens. But because it doesn't happen often, and with this particular circumstance, it's like, yeah, what exactly happened along the ride path? From when the train was dispatched from the station to when the train hits the brake run, yeah, what was going on there? Well, what was going on? Now, Ben did say, the attorney, Benjamin Crump, did say in the press conference that allegedly they're thinking that he got the blunt force trauma from him hitting the metal piece in front of the seat. And they did say that he was sitting in the front seat of Stardust Racers, so I'm assuming he's talking about the metal piece that sits in front right behind the Zero car. I'll try to flash up a photo on the screen here, but that's where they're saying he was probably getting the blunt force trauma. So if that's true, then okay, at what point of the ride did he faint and then start hitting that piece of metal? So these are all things that I'm sure we'll learn in the coming days when Universal starts reviewing the footage some more, as well as the attorneys and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just one big question mark. It's one of the more perplexing incidents that has happened in the industry in quite some time. It was also revealed during the press conference that the attorneys are very interested in Mac's lap bar restraint system. Now, Mac has had that restraint system since 2009. They introduced it on, I believe, Blue Fire, and they've had it ever since. And it's been on a bunch of their products. So like their extreme spinning coasters, it's been on coasters like Stardust Racers, and I mean, a bunch of different applications. And also, just as a reminder, these safety precautions are not just implemented by Mac themselves, but by a bunch of other third-party agencies that require companies like Mac and so many others to provide, safe equipment for these types of rides. And long story short about the lap bar, it's a Class 5 automatically locking restraint mechanism with redundancy. So that means there's a fail-safe there. If something goes wrong, there's a backup. And then going back to the press conference, Ben kind of ended it by saying that even though the ride functioned as intended, that does not necessarily mean that it is safe. And then they went to like a question and answer kind of thing, and that's when we found out about how many times he had ridden the ride and a few other things. But that's pretty much all we know so far. Again, the investigation is still ongoing, and both the roller coasters remain closed. And they will remain closed throughout the duration of the investigation. That's what the family wants. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to be. It could be weeks, it could be months. I mean, who knows? Now, if Mac and Universal go in there with other third-party agencies and keep discovering that everything is okay, well, then maybe the attraction will open up a little bit sooner. If not, then yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a long time. And all these things just depend on so many different factors, right? We go back to 2003, Disneyland had a really bad accident on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad where the upstop wheel failed and unfortunately resulted in a derailment costing someone's life. Now, that whole process took about 6 months before the ride reopened. And this, obviously a way different scenario, but still involving someone passing. So again, these things do take time. The one thing that we're all kind of waiting on, and the one thing that's going to take some time, is just trying to discover what caused the blunt force trauma. And then once that is determined, then you got to figure out, okay, well, was that caused by something on the ride vehicle, or Was that caused by the forces of the ride, and do we need to alter the attraction? There's been a lot of people talking about alterations where they might do over-the-shoulder restraints, or they might change the launch. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Before I wrap this up, like I was saying earlier, there's a couple other questions that still need to be answered. I guess one that I kind of keep circling around to would be, as a passerby or as an onlooker, my question would be, what other roller coasters has he gone on with the spinal condition? Like, did he go on Incredible Hulk? Like, has he done that one before or recently? Has he done Rock and Roller Coaster? Has he done, Manta at SeaWorld, or any other extreme roller coaster? Or was Stardust Racers the first one? I mean, I feel like that's a pretty legitimate question to ask. I mean, really, did he go on Velocicoaster? I feel like Velocicoaster is the closest product to Stardust Racers. So that would be like my one question in all of this, just because I'm curious. I'm very, very curious what he was able to go on, because there are a lot of people that are in wheelchairs or have previous back problems or neck problems that are able to go on roller coasters. I mean, it's totally possible. There are people that have a bunch of different things going on in their body that do not prevent them from going on roller coasters. So maybe this was the case with Kevin, and he was able to go on extreme roller coasters, and there's something else at play here. But that's still, I think, a legitimate question to ask, because, yeah, I mean, I would like to know what else was he able to ride that day and in previous visits to Universal Orlando. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you. I hope you got some information out of this. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about Stardust Racers. Again, it remains closed at the time of posting this, and if it reopens in the next few weeks or so, I will let all of you know. I'll be posting here on YouTube and on X all the updates on Stardust Racers and all the information that comes out of Universal and the family side, especially now that they're dealing with the attorneys and everything. So, I'm just going to turn it back down to you guys. And remember to keep the comments respectful, please. I have no problem removing comments down below if they get a little too crazy. It doesn't take me that long at all to just hit that button and you're gone. So let's keep it respectful. Someone did lose their life at the end of the day, so we can ask questions. We can, we can have a civil conversation without being rude. So just remember that. The links to my second channel and my Instagram account will be right next to the link for X. But until the next video, I hope you have a beautiful day, morning, evening, whatever it is. I'll see you next time in the parks.